Hi, it's Yvonne Teoh Bource with your weekly soul wisdom for the week of February 26th. Well, here I am. Yes, I'm actually recording this a day later than usual because we have just been celebrating the Chinese New Year. The end of it's usually celebrated for 2 weeks, and yesterday was the last day, and we had a big family celebration. So therefore, I did not have, or I didn't make, I have to say, I didn't make the time because I had other things to do. So although a day late, never mind, here we are. So it was really interesting because the topic that I really wanted to discuss today was how much does fear still limit you in your life? And so I was all prepared to talk about that this morning. And so as I sat down, another topic actually surfaced, which I will attend to next week. And that topic was how what we watch on television or where we put our energy or what we allow into our lives, how that affects our energy of well-being. But as I sat down and I sort of said to the powers that be, as I took my soul wisdom cards to see if I could have a message, I asked, well, which topic shall we discuss this week? And it was instant, like flick, it was fear. So we are going to be talking about fear. It's an interesting subject because for some reason, from a very early time of humanity's existence, fear has been a very large energy, emotion of limitation. And when you think about that, I guess when you look at the original species when it first was on Earth and, in total survival mode, fear was very important. It was very important to be alert all the time to any danger that might be causing you harm or fatal injuries, whatever. So, yes, it was a very, very useful thing for us in the early days of our existence. However, today, we don't, unless we are living in war zones, which I know only too much about, but if you are living, as I am, in a beautiful, peaceful country, and surrounded by love and friends and family and beauty of nature, then fear really has no business in our lives. It limits us. However, if we did not have fear at all, or if we became much less fearful, we would also become much more empowered as individuals, which goes completely against those in power who benefit from having fearful people to manipulate and to control. So we are constantly conditioned through the media, through so many different things that we see and hear around us. We are conditioned to stay fearful. And I guess for today, I really want to address it and get you to have a look in your own life where fear is still limiting you. Because is fear real? It's a very necessary emotion to have, or I don't know whether it's an emotion or whether it's just a sense of alertness, of something that brings you to an awareness that you need to pay attention because you could be heading for danger. Of course we need that. I mean, otherwise we would just step in front of a bus, right? So, but luckily we don't, most of us. And it's not really fear, that's just common sense, isn't it? However, there is so much fear that we put energy into that is never going to happen. Those wonderful what ifs. What if, yes, well, what if what? So when I examine my life and I look at how much does fear still limit me from allowing my life force its full, glorious, unlimited self expression. And of course, there are still many areas because I'm still here. So when I look at that and I go, well, what am I afraid of? I don't have many areas in my life where fear has any power over me anymore. So what's the other side of fear? It's all right to talk about fear and look at it and say, well, okay, let's go of fear. But what do I put in its place? And for me, it is trust. It's trust and faith. And I guess you then have to say trust in what? And what I trust in is that I am the outer expression of a spark of consciousness from this whole universal field of energy having a human experience. And if I tune into that wonderful, unlimited, infinite energy of creation, then what have I got to be afraid of? Because when I am tuned into that wonderful energy and I really embrace the fact that I create my realities by what I think, what I choose to believe in, what actions I choose to take, what words I choose to speak, then I am empowered to live in a place where I always feel safe, where I always feel excited, where I always feel empowered. But the moment that I lose that connection to soul or to whatever you want to call that, then yes, fear has an opportunity to just sneak in and just cut you off at the knees. And that happens to me sometimes. I am just cruising along and everything's just beautiful. And sometimes then, I'm sure it happens to you that someone says something or you read something, or it's usually something that happens from an external situation, and you find yourself suddenly dropping back into an old fear, into an old pattern. And we talk a lot these days, and I'm so excited about that, about neural pathways and neuroplasticity, which is all about knowing how your brain works and how it sends the messages. So if you have a neural pathway of always being afraid, let's take something really simple. I know I've got a beautiful, beautiful student, and she will be listening to this, and you know how much I love you, but she has a fear of jumping into water. Now, we have actually tackled this a couple of times at the Connect to Soul Spiritual Retreat that we've been to, and the last time she actually jumped into the water, and the freedom that came afterwards when she knew that she was safe was phenomenal. But I just want to use it as an example. Let's say that for some reason you have a fear of jumping into water. Now, that fear can have been established in your very early childhood, and you don't really need to know when or where or how. What you need to know is it real? And it usually isn't. So then it's a matter of, can you let go and trust? And trust in what? Trust that this life force in you will always protect you and always be there for you, as long as you don't put yourself unnecessarily into danger. So I'm not saying jump off a cliff into water, but we were talking about just jumping into a swimming pool. So we have many fears like that. Oh no, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of this. I have another friend who actually is afraid to walk over a bridge because in her early childhood she experienced a flood. I had lots of fears as from my early childhood of having spent 2 years in war zone, or 12 years in war zones. I had a lot of fears that I've had to overcome over the years. So I know what it's like to be afraid, and what it's like to overcome that. One of the recent ones that I'm most excited about is that I had an absolute terror of heights. I mean, my mum brought me up she had a terror of heights, and so whenever we went anywhere, if we went to the edge of anything in nature, and she'd go, "Oh, no, 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 don't stand there." She used to say, "I'm going weak in the knees." So we listened to our mother and we laughed at her, "Yeah, it's all right, Mum." But as I grew up, I noticed that I actually became quite frightened of heights, to the point that standing on a chair would make me feel uncomfortable and insecure. So one of my goals, I suppose, many years ago, early on my journey, was that I would break through my fears. And one of the fears that I was going to break through was my fear of heights. And the way that I tackle things is head on, right? So I went and I did some, not bungee jumping, I would never do that to my body, but I did some abseiling of an 80-foot tower in the middle of a forest. It was on a windy day, so the tower was kind of going a little bit like that. And it was all right. We had, I had harness on and all of that, and we had to climb up this tower. And when we got to the top platform, we were then lowered off the side, and then we had to abseil into space, just all the way down. So I hope this is not, those of you who are afraid of heights, it's not going to make you go, "Ooh." Well, it did me. But anyhow, I climbed up those steps. But while I was on the lower areas where the trees were all around us, I was okay. I was managing. I didn't like it, but I was managing. Until we got above the canopies of the trees, because this tower was higher than the canopies of the trees. And there was nothing. And that last lot of stairs that I had to go up, I was at the bottom, and when I say stairs, they were narrow, steps like ladders. And I stood at the bottom, and above me was like a manhole lid, right, to the top of the platform. It was shut at the time, and the person had gone in before me, and so it was my turn, and I'm standing at the bottom, and I can't tell you how terrified I was. And I was frozen. I could not move, totally paralyzed, because that's what fear does. It paralyzes you. It stops you from moving forward into your life. And so the reason that I'm talking about it today is because, when you allow fear to actually rule your life, then it stops you from actually living your life. So on this particular day, I learned that if I could take my thoughts to just a fraction of a second, not even a second, a fraction of a second, I had to pull in every story I was running, every thought, to just this moment and this moment. And in that moment, I thought, what can I do? What I could do was just put one hand a little bit higher on the railing and the other hand a little bit higher. I didn't move my feet yet. And eventually a foot on the first step, and then a little bit. And I had to force my thoughts not to go anywhere else. Just stay with the hands and the foot and the hand and the foot. And then all of a sudden that trap door above me opened, and a guy leaned down and said, "Hey, you're nearly there. Come on up." And then I was able to go. But that moment where I made the choice to break through, that fear was no longer going to keep me trapped. It didn't cure me completely of the fear of heights, I have to tell you, but it helped a lot. However, I've been working on it over the years, and the most exciting thing that happened to me while I was in Malaysia in, when was it, November or whatever, I can't remember when I was there last, I think November. My daughter and I went up this tower, I mean unbelievably high tower, and we stood on, like in Melbourne, we have a Eureka Tower that you can stand on a glass platform. And I stood on that glass platform, and we were, I think, 94 stories high, and I did not feel a thing. No fear of heights anymore. I was so excited. I had a little dance. And that is what happens when you break through fears, when you no longer allow it to control your life, when you say, you know what, nothing's going to happen to me. I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust that I'm safe. I know I'm safe. Usually the fears that we have are about things that might happen and most likely won't, or they are fears that were established when you were very young, and they have absolutely nothing to do with this moment. So again, let's look at your life and let's look and say, well, where in my life do I feel limited because of fear? And then I'm going to challenge you this week, and I hope that you'll send me some comments about where in your life that you feel limited, and whether you would be happy to just step forward into that fear and say, well, what would my life be like when I'm not filled with fear? When I step through it. And everyone has had that experience when we've done something, feel the fear and do it anyway. Fabulous book. You have this sense of elation. It's an amazing feeling. It's like you just become weightless for a minute and just float off, because you realize just how much of a burden it's been, and how much of a yoke around your neck that it's been. So have a look at your life and decide which part of your fear you want to change to trust. And again, as I say, the trust for me is always about going within and saying to my higher self, or whatever you want to call that, you know what? I put my life in your hands, and I am going to move forward. It's just a wonderful, wonderful step to take in your life, to let go of fear. Wow. So, please do leave me a comment, because I think this is a topic that we all battle throughout our life, and it's just something that we keep being impregnated with I think with every flu vaccination. Be afraid to get the flu, be afraid of this, be afraid of that, be afraid of something else. Well, we can change that, because one of the things that we do have is free will and choices. And we don't use that often enough. So I make the choice not to be afraid. Make the choice to trust. Make the choice to trust in the power that created you. What else would you actually trust in more than that? I trust in the power that created me completely. And I know that when I connect to that every day and say, okay, where to? Because I'm a cooperative, co-creative partner, I have the most wonderful experiences. The minute that I get trapped into thinking I am this personality, I am this body, and therefore I'm afraid of stuff, I have not quite as good a time. So that's really the challenge. I think it's a challenge that we've come here to meet, to become aware of where in our lives we allow fear to limit us from being everything that we could be, for being everything that we are able to be if we connect to that inner power. So if you would like to talk about it and do some more, well, leave me a comment underneath. And of course, again, if you would like some personal coaching to learn how to overcome fear, then contact me on and the links are below, to my website and to all the things that of course that I run. And look, just very quickly, if so my next retreat is in May the 10th till the 17th, 2018, and we have actually enough people, but I keep hearing from my guides that there is one more person meant to be going. So I can make another space available if you're interested. So there is a link down underneath the video to show you to go to my retreat page. And if that is what really is ringing bells for you, contact me. All the other links are also below. So as I said to you just before I started this video, and I thought I was asking which topic to talk about, and I went to the cards. As you know, I always draw one card to support what we've been talking about, and I didn't have to shuffle it more than once. This card just popped up and it just leapt straight into my hands, and it was Green Tower, Supreme Protection. So I will show you this card. Let me see. It's not too bad. Okay. And so Green Tower, it says you are protected. You see, when you are in tune with your higher self, and you are a conscious expression of that, you are always protected. Cords are being cut. Move beyond limitation and trust. Exactly what we were talking about. That's what I mean. I was so in tune and it just popped out. So I went and I read up in the little book here, and it said you are safe. Protection is all around you. The worst is behind you and you're ready to move beyond your fears. Isn't it wonderful? Don't worry about recalling fearful experiences. They aren't going to be recreated now. Just acknowledge them and leave them behind so you can step into a space of spiritual and personal freedom. Green Tara has placed a force field of complete love and acceptance around you. She is here to tell you that you no longer need to build up walls around your heart, and that it's safe to trust what you feel and who is in your life today and what is in your life today. Move forward in trust and in love. Wow, what a message. I think that was just perfect. And that's really what it's about. Move forward in trust and in love. And beautiful things will come your way. I am so delighted to have been able to spend these few moments with you. And please, please comment and let me know where in your life you might have broken through fears and maybe how you did it, and where in your life that you still have fears that you would like to break through. I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment and I will certainly answer you. So have a great week, and I shall see you next week. Namaste. Be kind to you and love yourself fearlessly.